Welcome back, guys. Thanks for coming. Been about a full week since I posted, so I was just feeling super tired this week. Very low energy, and I've got a pretty good idea as to why that is. But part of what happens as we grow up is we have different experiences, different events that take place that teach us about the world and how things are. And sometimes the conclusions we draw from those early experiences leave us with some false ideas about how the world really is, about how we really are. And if you've ever read The Four Agreements, that book is sort of like a invitation to look at yourself and look at your opinions and beliefs and recognize that some of those beliefs and opinions were formed long ago and might not really resonate, or you might learn that they're no longer true. But these beliefs that we hold, a lot of the time serve as sort of like rules to how the world works, or how we have to behave in the world. And some of those rules are outdated and no longer need to be there, I guess. Like the rules have changed a lot of the time, and the things that we hold ourselves to from the past aren't really as relevant today. So I guess I'm sort of speaking in abstract terms here, but an idea that I've had was there's a lot of people in my life who are a few years younger than me, who are maybe in like their early 20s or so, and they feel very confident, and they're kind of riding this wave of like getting out of high school, getting out of the house, finally living life by their own rules. And it can create a a feeling of freedom and sort of like a newfound responsibility for yourself. And this can create a sort of a not false, but sort of like an uninformed confidence that in the following years, I assume they will sort of realize that like a lot of the confidence they have comes from these false understandings of the world that are basically in constant change. Like, but some of these things we get stuck on, and they provide like this foundation for like it's the ground we stand on, the point that we look out and see the world from. That point might be kind of like, or that position that we hold so strongly might have a lot of like blind spots, or might not give us the full accurate view. And when we develop this concept of the world and concept of ourselves, two different things, if we examine those concepts, we often find that they are both existing to just reinforce our kind of not only self-image, but also like our safety, like our feeling of security. So a lot of these thoughts about ourselves are like kind of, there's two sides of it. There's some that tell you you're kind of like perfect the way you are and you don't need to change. You don't need to listen to anybody else. You've got it all figured out on your own. And then there's oftentimes these hints of thoughts that are more the opposite, telling you like you don't know what you're doing. This is you're lying to yourself. You're trying to meet other people's expectations, not your own. Who am I? What do I want? Thoughts like that. So we tend to like hide from those thoughts, and the concepts of who we are and how the world works and what the future holds for us. A lot of those ideas are really actually based out of fear. And they're meant to keep us comfortable. So there are two forces that exist within us. There's the force that is trying to keep us comfortable and find security in the world, which truthfully, that's sort of a false concept in itself. Like there is always going to be an unpredictable element to life. So there's always, like, there's no guarantees. That's kind of what I think personally. So a lot of the time when people tell us information that diverts from what we believe, we immediately reject it. And it's not because it's good, because it's bad information. Oftentimes it's because it just doesn't align with the structure, the model of the world and of ourselves that we exist within. So these two forces, one keeping us safe and one kind of trying to like see reality in an objective way, they kind of go against each other. So a lot of the time when people reject what to a lot of people we view as the truth, the reason they're rejecting it is because it's a painful thing for them to hear and to like accept into their lives. It's threatening to what they know. And part of my struggle in this last week is I've been just stuck thinking about like, how can I effectively spread my message when I probably, I have a very unique or specific to me, an idea of how a person finds themselves, finds the truth, finds the beauty in the world, cuts through their mental models that keep us limited and kind of like trapped in false realities. How do I speak to those people without sort of like triggering those alarm bells that tell us to just reject that which makes us uncomfortable? The process I'm describing is so deeply woven into us as humans. I've touched on this briefly before, but our behavior, our actions, well, there's three types of actions. And I got a lot of these ideas from Vipassana, which is a meditation course, non-denominational, but it is definitely sort of like a foundation for a lot of my beliefs, because it's, just very, it's an examination of the deepest, I don't know how to put it exactly, the mechanisms that are working within us that we're not quite aware of, more so we're at the mercy of. Vipassana is a technique, I think, that helps you dive in and learn about kind of how we work and what we're truly experiencing. What you find there, sorry for that little what's the word? Digression. Sorry. We respond, so the three types of action, sorry. There is mental action, verbal action, and physical action. Recognize, it's very important, that both of your verbal and physical action is the result of a mental action. Did I say that right? So your verbal and physical action are a result of an initial mental action that took place. And the way this works is we respond to our sensations. Mentally, we whether it's consciously or subconsciously, we recognize the sensations that are occurring throughout our body. Now, the habit that we all grow to develop, which is a natural aversion to painful sensations and a attraction and sort of clinging on to pleasurable sensations. And oftentimes we respond to these sensations of pain by seeking out sensations of pleasure to distract from that pain. And from the moment we're born, this process starts. We start learning, okay, I like this stimulation, I don't like this stimulation. And you register these things, and then when you see examples of things you've experienced in the past, you kind of refer back to what that was like, that pain that you experienced, and you remember, okay, I need to kind of avoid this circumstance. And a lot of people, hopefully you're still with me here, a lot of people are completely at the mercy of that process. And they think they're in control, but they don't realize that basically they're just on this roller coaster ride, just, going up and down of, experiencing pain, trying to hide from it by getting a high. The high eventually slips away. We cling on to it. That in itself is a painful experience, letting the pleasure slip away. We go back into the sort of discomfort zone, and then we deny it, and we try to recreate a pleasure, or sort of spend more time in that comfort zone. The comfort zone is a terrible place. It is a place of self-deception, inauthenticity, and avoidance, I guess. This is the zone we enter. This is the process that's happening when we get new information that goes against what we know. We reject it. It's discomfort. It tells us the way that we see things isn't as they were. And that's a scary feeling, scary experience. So we, it's like, especially, I'm looking over here, I've got a Bible on the shelf. It's like, I'm just thinking like, well, what does a person who grew up following this with the belief that any diversion from the belief system projected onto us will lead you, or this hypothetical individual, to a place called hell. So it's like, that has to just be detrimental to a person's ability to think critically and rationally, because they are always in this state of fear. And when new information, just natural curiosity within them of what else is out there, what other ways of seeing things resonate with me, by even approaching that path in your mind, you're making this huge offense against not just your community, but against God. And you believe that you'll be punished severely, with this eternal burning punishment. And that being an uncomfortable idea, you'll just suppress and push down all of those thoughts that are really, now what those thoughts are, that is your, I believe, this is, my personal school of thought here, that voice is not just intrusive thoughts. It's not just like something trying to trick you and throw you off your game. A lot of the time, those thoughts are your true voice. Like, that is your inner voice telling you how you really feel about something. But we learn not to listen to it because oftentimes what it's telling us to do is to change. And change is mostly uncomfortable for people, unless it's changed for the better. But even still, like, we all know people who are in these terrible relationships, just horrible relationships, and all of the friends and family and anyone close to them is just like, you have to get out of there. It's clear as day. And they're like, yes, you're so right. But they don't do it because they know that it's going to create a great deal of change in their life and uncertainty. And that is just too scary to approach for some people. Now, so they just stay in a situation that they know is bad for them out of fear. This fear might never go away for some people if they just exist to suppress that inner voice trying to guide them towards the truth, towards a more authentic version of themselves. This is sort of like it becomes almost like a procrastination. It's like you keep getting this message, these thoughts keep coming up for you, telling you that you're not satisfied, telling you that the way that you're going about life isn't working for you. And you just put it off. And it's very similar to just like an actual task that you have waiting for you, that if you never do it, it will never get done. And I guess the message I'm getting at is, if these things exist within you, if you're like, how should I say this? You might believe that you're like a happy, comfortable person the way you are, but try to examine, like, how honest are you being with yourself, and are there things that you actively avoid on a daily basis? Physical or mental things that you're avoiding taking care of. It's just driven out of a fear and out of a natural habit to avoid pain, like I talked about. Now, as I mentioned before, I had been really kind of exhausted. I almost want to say like hungover, emotionally, spiritually. Like, I don't even know what I mean by that when I say spiritually, but essentially I had this force in me, it felt like, that, as I've described, trying to keep things positive, keep things comfortable. But there was another force that always existed in me, calling out from beneath the lie that I was telling myself, trying to be expressed and be realized, this true inner self that I think of as myself today. It's a month ago today that I was at that concert that I mentioned in my first video, where I had all my friends and family around me, and I recognized this freedom I had developed that I hadn't yet recognized, to just fully be myself. There were no more stakes involved. There was no one I could disappoint. There was no one who I had to worry about if they'd accept me or not, because I had accepted myself. But I was still sort of limited by this habitual response to keep this false identity afloat and deny the truth. And at this concert, when I began to dance in front of my mom, my brother, all of our best friends, it became sort of this like ceremony where I was realizing like, oh my gosh, this outer shell is no longer necessary. If anything, it's just by having it, I'm just being held back from expressing my true self. And as I danced, I just tore every last piece of that persona, outer shell, false identity. And I mean, I blew it to smithereens and just danced on the broken pieces until there was nothing left. And the dance I was doing itself was like very much like stomping and twisting my feet. It was like I was just like, it was a gravel floor, and by the time it was over, like all the gravel, it was just like I had gotten down to the dirt. Like all the gravel had sort of like gotten kicked away from me, and I felt free. And everyone who witnessed me that day validated that for me. And now, even a month later, I realize that this is a true, genuine experience that happened. Like I feel like I've been able to exist now without this old belief system, old identity, old concepts holding me back. And the energy that it took to, like I said, to blow that thing to smithereens, that was a lot of energy. And I think while I was so excited to like explore that newfound self and like see what it's like to just be at work and not have, be my true self in all these places that I spend time in, and just like appreciate the beauty I was now able to see. I was kind of still riding that high, so to speak, and sure enough, there was a little crash there. And I was just, kind of recognizing like the natural flow of energy. A lot of the times when we feel down or low, we kind of like take it personally, or like we blame ourselves for it. And there were some elements of that where I'm like, what happened? I was feeling so great for so many weeks, and now I'm kind of like just lethargic, don't have that spark. And I tried my best to recreate it, but I just knew I needed some time. And I didn't want to like make a video and just come at it half-assed or something. So the point of what I'm getting at here, thank you guys if you're still with me, I really appreciate it. There is a message that I'm trying to share, and that experience I described at the concert is one that I want everyone to have. And there's so many people that I know who are just begging to have that experience, but they don't allow it to happen because they're still so attached to those previous false beliefs. And also like they're just stuck in that comfort zone, and they've been spending their whole life trying to stay in that comfort zone. And for some people, it's like it's a very small little pillar that they're just bouncing on. This is the comfort zone. It's like anything could knock them off of it. That's just because they know that they're lying to themselves, but they're just keeping it alive because that's how painful it is to accept the harsh realities we find ourselves in. But it's by approaching that harsh reality that we can create something new, learn something, and, see reality as it is. Not for the sake of just reinforcing ourselves, but just for the sake of knowing who we are and where we are. Some people gravitate to this sort of conversation or talk as sometimes this resonates and people can eat it right up. Other people, this idea of like a true self, it's like they don't even want to hear about that because they know that there are inauthentic forces controlling them. And it takes a lot of effort, guys. Like in one sense, it's very easy because it's so available. It's just like this force in you trying to pull you back to where you came from, that true authentic self that we started life with and that we kind of lost as we matured and like tried to meet society's expectations. That force is something that if you are in that comfortable position, in that false reality, you won't want to listen to that. You'll reject this idea and say, no, I'm perfect the way I am. And that's why and it's not just them doing it. It's also like you have to be efficient at expressing your message. But it's different for everybody, and you have to sort of be inspired to change. And sometimes that inspiration comes from a great deal of pain. It's like your situation, your comfort zone might be comfortable enough to stay in for the entire duration of your life, and you can make it the full distance without ever really doing that inner work of like finding your true self, true passion. You can just do the rat race or whatever. You can like get the fancy cars and keep that lifestyle sustaining your pleasure, and that might work. But it's when we find ourselves in this like sort of confused state of like what to do with our energy. It's like, I know what people are telling me to do, but I'm not sure what I want. It's like, well, then you know that it's time to look within yourself, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult, but you can unlock a whole new way of seeing the world, and a whole life will just become so much more beautiful for you because you'll have a freedom to explore the world. You won't have this comfort zone that you're stuck in. It'll just become open. And I want you to imagine what it would be like if you weren't so afraid. It's a good exercise. Thanks for hearing me, guys. It had been a week. Really, I just needed to vent a little bit. But I know this was all over the place. If you're here, thanks for bearing with me. Got some new subscribers this week, and I've gotten not a lot, but I've gotten some comments from you guys telling me you're watching and you're appreciating what I'm saying. And that just means the world to me. I want, if I said it before, I want everyone to experience that liberation, that peeling off of that false identity. And as I learn to express this message, it really does help to hear that I'm having some positive effect on somebody out there. So really appreciate it. Love you guys so much. And come back in a few hours for the Tuesday tune-in, episode 2. It's going to be great. Love you.